Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. It is Friday, September 9th, 2022, and coming to you from east of Woodward, I'm Jer Stays.
And coming to you from across the table, it's Devin O'Reilly.
You are east of Woodward. Just a few blocks, though.
Yes,
a few blocks.
Just a little bit, but we're basically sharing our space off of Woodward here as we do a in-person podcast sitting across from each other, which is always great.
I don't think you'll melt.
No. We can do this, Jer.
So, Devin, what are you drinking?
Well, Jer, you were kind enough to offer me the official daily bar here, which is quite well appointed. So
Thank you, Engineer Randy.
Right. Thank you, Engineer Randy. I grabbed the Butcher's Cut bourbon and made myself an old-fashioned.
Well, sir, it is an excellent old-fashioned, and I am drinking the same myself. What is the big deal with the Butcher's Cut? I heard something happened this weekend.
Yeah, Butcher's Cut bourbon has been a staple of Detroit City Distillery in Eastern Market. Go check it out for a long time now. And they just recently released a Butcher's Cut birthday bourbon at DCD.
Butcher's Cut birthday bourbon. Try saying that like 14 times.
I will not, especially after some Butcher's Cut birthday bourbon. But the problem, Jer, is it is so popular, or was so popular, I should say, it's sold out within a day. So sorry if you're listening to this, you could not get it. I could not even get it, but I hope that maybe I can score some from our buddy Mike Forsyth if he's listening. Someone's got some birthday bourbon out there.
Are you on a podcast begging for bourbon, Mr. O'Reilly?
Shamelessly. Someone's got some birthday bourbon and I want it. So I'm glad they sold out, but I'm sure they'll come up with something new and we'll try that out.
I have the same drink, but I am going to raise that drink to you and cheers. Your birthday is ahead, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you. It is tomorrow. So maybe it's a good reason to be able to score some Butcher's Cut.
Hint, hint. Well, I've been around town, sir.
You have been around town, Jer, and you've been to somewhere that I not only had not been before, but had not even heard of. So I'm really interested to hear about Nine Design and Rosa.
All right. So this is a twofer in the Grandmont Rosedale area. So think Grand River, just west of the Southfield. So that's where that area is in Detroit.
Lots of cool small businesses over there.
Oh, for sure. And so this is a great way if you want to like spend a Saturday or part of a Saturday. First off, I'll shout out Nine Designs. Now, that is the design studio, the retail shop of Keith and Evan from Bargain Block.
Ah, yes. Love that show.
Yeah. And so not only are they doing a retail shop, they also have classes. I'm going to post some pictures up on our Instagram stories about the little trip. Always, I mean, everything was well laid out. They did a wonderful job. The ceiling is spray painted, which I personally appreciate because I just spent a week spray painting ceiling. But it is a wonderful space. You know, it's kind of unassuming. The sign's like the size of my laptop in a white building there. It's right next to a McDonald's. But you go in there and it's like a little piece of design magic. All kinds of stuff that they either created, found, upcycled, all that kind of stuff.
Interesting. So is it the type of stuff that you might see in the show?
I recognize pieces from the show.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
For sale. So you can get yourself a little piece of the show if you want.
Nice. I like it. Now, price point, I mean, furniture is expensive and decorations are expensive, so I get that. I mean, was it a super high price point or was it relatively affordable? Okay.
Yeah, like, is it cheap? No, but mid, is it something where it's like you can justify it? I think so for what it is.
For sure.
Right? It's not going to be like IKEA or anything, but there's a number of pieces I saw them like, well, if this fit for me. And then there's a selection of his art, like his unique art. And the other thing is they are actually doing painting classes, which are kind of cool. So yeah, I'm excited about that. That's a great way to spend some time. You might end up spending some money. I warn you. And then you can either before or after, you should stop by Rosa, which used to be a number of other coffee shops over time. But this incarnation, the new owner, who I believe also heads up the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance, Charity Dean.
Charity Spot. Oh, wow. Well, shout out Charity. I didn't realize she had a coffee shop, but that's awesome. I'm going to definitely check it out. Is this where the Always Brewing Detroit used to be?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. This place is really nice looking. They've done a really nice job redoing it. Now, the vibe is completely different. Okay. So it's much more of like your pinks and greens and wallpapers and tin ceilings. So it's much more of like a softer feel. The lemonade that I had was absolutely fabulous, like a lavender lemonade. And they have Avalon baked goods. And crucially, they have the real Avalon baked goods. When I say real, there is a difference in formulation between what you buy as the store-bought and what comes out of the bakery. Because when you get the store-bought, and I could tell it with the sea salt chocolate chunk cookie.
One of your favorites.
One of my favorites. To be shelf-stable, things need to be kind of edited a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They taste really good still, but they're not as good as fresh out the bakery. And you can tell when there's the fresh out the bakery and they get the fresh out the bakery. That is a wonderful thing to have paired with their coffee, their lemonade. I'm glad that they're there. They did a nice job with the design. You know, if I'm out that way again, I'm going to visit again. I encourage you all to visit both those places. Now, Rosa has pretty wide hours. You want to check online. Nine Design, their hours are very focused on the weekend because this is just one of many projects. So it's something special. Now, I did not see any of the hosts from Bargain Block there, but I'm told that occasionally you will.
Well, they're also very busy, Jer, doing all this, all the rehabbing and the housework. So I wouldn't expect to see them there, but I'm glad you checked it out. I love that area. You know, Grandmont Rosedale is quite underrated when it comes to a commercial corridor. But as you said, there's many other little businesses, shops, cafes that you can check out if you're over in that area.
It's only underrated if you haven't been there. Once you go there, right? Because I'm working on that donut feature.
Mm-hmm.
There's that place called Elias Donuts. There's a few other things I want to check out. I've been through there before, but I hadn't had the chance to really spend some hours focus in there. And it was just a lot of fun. And, Grandmont Rosedale, it's just great to see neighborhoods like that in the city of Detroit.
It's one of my favorite neighborhoods, one of the strongest, most connected, friendly neighborhoods you'll go and see. So check them out and enjoy yourself in Grandmont Rosedale.
So, Devin, where have you been?
My outing was a little bit more closer to downtown. We're talking Corktown here, where all things are happening these days.
We can't seem to get the O'Reilly out of Corktown. Go figure.
It does constantly call to me, Jared. Maybe it's the brick road, whatever it is, the Irish heritage. But yes, I was in Corktown actually for a work event, and I was at the Yard in Corktown, which is, I think people have heard about it. I know we mentioned it. It is quite an amalgamation of all sorts of interesting things. It's right off of Michigan Avenue. They really bill the axe throwing as the main thing. And of course, axe throwing is a big deal here. But they have everything from shuffleboard to, bags. They've got cornhole, as other people call it. They've got a full bar. They've got taco trucks that are literally pulled up inside of the building. They have a huge outdoor space. They have games, pinball. It is kind of like, if people remember Punch Bowl Social, it's like a better, bigger, what Punch Bowl I think could be.
Or could have been, because that's gone.
Could have been, yep.
Yeah, Punch Bowl Social is long gone.
It is long, yeah, you're right, it is long gone. But this place is really, really cool. I did enjoy my time there. I'm not going to kind of sugarcoat the fact that I think it's great for like the woo-woo, the bachelorette parties, the
okay, so this is a place that you roll up to on a pedal pub and you'll go, woo!
Yeah.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Similar to Detroit Shipping Company. It's on the woo.
Sure.
It's on the woo train.
It's on the woo train, and you may encounter some woo people.
DailyDetroit@gmail.com. What are the woo bars of Detroit? I want to hear from you all.
This is totally a woo bar, but hey, it embraces it. And it's great. If you're with a group of people, like this place would be so much fun to go to. There's all sorts of things to do. They have a great outdoor space, heated patio. They're working on doing even more on the outdoors stage. This will be great for tailgating as we're getting into football season now. I'm sure Lions and Michigan State games. It'll be great. So it is what it is, but I really enjoyed my time there. I didn't throw any axes, though. It's not my thing.
Devin, are you secretly a woo person?
No, absolutely.
I'm just wondering. We need all cards on table.
I was a woo boy years ago.
A woo boy?
Is
that like an e-boy or other kinds of boys?
You could catch me wooing it up at different places in Detroit before, but no, I am not a woo person anymore. And no relation to Wu-Tang. That's totally different.
Definitely not. All right. Unless you've been under a rock, you know that Lafayette Coney Island was closed this week by the Detroit Health Department because of evidence of rodents. Videos got spread on social media. There was quick action by the health department. WXYZ reports further that basement renovations are probably going to begin soon, and that owners say that it may be closed for a few weeks to be able to kind of fix this issue permanently. If that's true, that means they're going to miss the auto show, which is a thing. I understand why. I think personally they need to get this right. I also think it's interesting timing, and I want to discuss this because the show topic was Cheyenne on Tuesday, where we talked about the proposed health inspection card ordinance. We let go a couple of polls, and you all were very strong in my inbox. But before I get to that, I want your clean thoughts on this dirty situation.
My thoughts will only be so clean, but admittedly, so I'll preface it by saying I'm a Lafayette guy. If you ask me American or Lafayette, I was always a Lafayette person. I do think that this and I say this as a Lafayette guy, I don't think this is wholly surprising. You know, I think that we're kidding ourselves if we don't think that not only Lafayette, but a lot of other restaurants and bars in
Just in
Detroit,
general.
but certainly in that central business district, because it's closer to the river. There's a lot of kind of low lying, high lying. Look, Jer, name your favorite place in downtown Detroit, and I guarantee they've at least had some issues with whether it be rodents, cockroaches, what have you. This is the nature of the beast. You can go to Manhattan in the nicest restaurants, and they're dealing with rat problems. So I feel like I'm a little wary of like just shaming Lafayette into just, you're dirty, we won't go there anymore. It's like, look, this is a problem. You got to fix it. You got to assess the situation, make it better. But I don't think this is something unique to Lafayette. I mean, clearly, you'd have to be living under a rock if you think this is just Lafayette. And furthermore, I don't want to throw American under the bus, but you damn well better believe that if Lafayette is dealing with a rat issue, their wall neighbors are dealing with similar issues. I have to believe that they are.
Detroit was built on a bluff and streams and swamp. Like Grand Circus Park, it is a filled-in swamp. Like, we don't realize that because it's been so many years. But like the Fort of Detroit at Fort and Shelby, that was up on a bluff, right? Like, there are infrastructure issues at across. Now, that doesn't excuse major issues. That doesn't excuse any of that other stuff. Although I think there are a lot of business owners, not just in downtown, but across the city. And honestly, I think across the region, because I think if this catches in Detroit, it could catch on in other places where they're worried about a health inspection placard ordinance being something of kind of having a clear signal as opposed to it being buried in the middle of the City of Detroit website somewhere. And the last time I checked, which was this morning, I couldn't see any updated inspection since 2020. There's multiple issues at play here, but I also understand the frustration of some business owners. Maybe you can lay into that more.
It is quite nuanced, but as a champion and supporter and sometimes apologist for small businesses, especially of the restaurant and bar variety, I do understand a bit where there is some apprehension, there is some issue with making this kind of a mark of shame where we're going to just put your business right on the front window and say, this is a good place to eat or drink, or this is not a good place to eat or drink. And that can really impact people's businesses and livelihoods. When we think about, the people and the lives that are involved in these businesses. So I do have definitely some empathy for people who could get affected by this negatively if there's a scarlet letter on their door, as it were. But at the same time, we have to understand from a consumer's perspective, from a patron's perspective, they want to know their places that they eat and they drink are clean. And I think that what I will say, and we can talk about this, is I agree with having the demarcations and having this system, but I think that there needs to be a grace period, maybe it's 90 days or whatever, for the businesses to qualify and get themselves into compliance.
I mean, on the details, I think that's something that should be debated. I mean, it's something where we need to have funding for it. There needs to be grace periods. Let me share what the audience said, because we have put polls on Instagram in our newsletter at dailydetroit.substack.com. And I can also kind of go off of my inbox, but I'm going to stick to the unofficial polls. And I will not say that these polls are Glenn Gariff, blah, blah, blah polls. But I do want to share how people feel. So our Instagram poll had hundreds of responses. 52% supported the letter grade proposal. 23% supported color grades. 8% were not sure. And 17% were against the proposal. I have not seen numbers like that on any issue in years. Now, we had many, many responses on our newsletter about this. So a completely separate audience. I did something and I was like, all right, I'm going to put a poll out there and see what people think. 68% of respondents said yes for letter grades. 23% yes for color grades. Only 7% said no. Only 2% were not sure. Diners want this. And whatever you think of Councilman Benson or whatever proposal he's had in the past, he is directionally correct in what the people want. And I know from the inbox, there are people who are saying if you are publicly fighting this as a restaurant, they are striking you off the list to visit.
That's tough. But I do know people who feel that exact way, that if you're fighting this, that basically is an admission of guilt, essentially, on your part.
I don't think it necessarily is an admission of guilt, but there's a lot of people who feel that way. And whatever you think, like, the people want this.
They do.
The people want this, and you got to serve your customers. And if you go to major food cities, Chicago has a pass-fail system. San Francisco has these things. Major food cities across the nation have something like this because people want that feeling of transparency. And I've had a feeling about it from the beginning, but in the last few days, getting all the feedback, literally hundreds of responses, one of the biggest feedback issues we have seen here at Daily Detroit. It is overwhelming that diners want this, and they would want it in their communities too, whether they were in the city, whether they were in the suburbs. That's the thing, is like, I dine in Detroit. I'd like to see it in my home of Oakland County. I live in Detroit. I want to see it when I go out to Wayne County.
Yeah.
They want this universal.
It would be interesting to hear the breakdown from people who have worked back of the house, because
Oh, for sure. I don't know
I actually have so many years ago, but I worked back of the house, and you see things, and it's a totally different experience, and you understand a little bit how the sausage is made, per se, Jer.
Literally?
Sometimes.
Depending on what company you're running.
My brother worked at Dearborn Sausage for a little while, and he literally got to see how the sausage was made. You don't want to see that.
Fair.
You don't want to see
sausage.
that. And that's
That's
thing.
going
Is
to
like,
screen cap. Someone's going to grab that.
You talk to somebody and they who worked back at the house. I see why they'd be like, wow, look, you don't need to know everything, customer. But you know what? We do. And so I struggle with this a lot, Jared, but I do think that the customer is right. These are the right thing, but we need to be able to help the business owners get into compliance. And if they truly are
there
fighting
have to be
it,
resources.
Right. There has to be resources. If they truly are fighting it, then there is something wrong. It reminds me of one of my favorite shows, Bar Rescue, back in the day. I loved it.
Oh, I'd love to have Taffer on the show.
That would be a dream guest. I think
Because we
for
got
both of
so
us.
much feedback too from the bar stools.
Yes.
Our second greatest feedback was with the bar stools, and lots of women too, talking about places to hang for purses. Lots of stuff. We'll do a whole episode on that next week.
It showcased there are humans and people behind these bars and restaurants, and so I really want to respect them and understand their struggles. But at the end of the day, customers need to come to a place that they can feel comfortable eating at and feel safe eating at.
And health trumps everything else. I know there's been a lot of issues about equity and such put out there, but I'll tell you, when it comes to eating out, health trumps everything. Perception of health and safety, it doesn't matter. Like they don't, I think the public, and this is from email conversations, you know what? If you can't meet that bar, you don't deserve to be open in their eyes. Let's say on the food news, but let's make it a little bit more fun. A couple of pieces of news that involve some Dearborn favorites. So I wanted to bring them up for you.
Perfect.
Tasties, according to Crane's Detroit Business, is doing franchises now.
Yeah, Tasty Burgers. I mean, they've won multiple awards. I remember they got themselves on the map by winning, I think, like Best Burger in Detroit or Best Burger in Michigan even.
Then they got highlighted by Eater for they got 2.4 million views on a video by Eater or something like that.
Started off in a gas station on Wyoming and Ford Road.
Only gas station burger that is suitable for a date, in my opinion.
But now look at them. They're franchising, they're great. More Tasty Burgers, the better, I say. It's a delicious burger.
And then Ford Garage is expanding. Now, that is a national chain. They kind of had their first outpost in Metro Detroit in Dearborn. The first one, according to the Detroit News, will be in Novi. What do you think of that place? And maybe if bias is on table, because, I've eaten a burger there for a while. When they first opened, they had a burger there named after your dad.
They did. The Mayor O'Reilly burger, which he never ate.
What?
He doesn't eat. He doesn't eat burgers. He loves fish. He's basically a pescatarian, essentially.
Really?
Yeah. So he never had the burger. I had to try it for him. It was a good burger. No, Ford's Garage is great. I live near there. It's such a cool place to kind of go because people from Dearborn don't necessarily go there. A lot of the tourists, people going to Henry Ford do.
Yeah, it screams to me as a tourist spot.
It does, but it's a great bar setup, lots of TVs, huge bar. They've got the open garage doors to sit out. So I do love going there. I always make a reservation. I would encourage people to because the wait there can get up to 3 hours on a weekend.
Wow. That's a popular spot. That's a popular spot.
And that is why they need a franchise. So I'm glad to see it.
A quick bit of local talent doing well. We talked about Tim Robinson, his Emmy. Seems like you're pretty happy about that too.
I Think You Should Leave is one of my favorite shows, one of the funniest shows. My friends and I quote it constantly. Big shout out to Tim for that.
You know what? I want to put Tim. We got Roman Mars on the show. Let's put Tim on our dream guest list.
I don't want to be a stalker, but Tim has liked some of Daly's posts. So maybe Tim listens.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
That would be amazing. I'll do anything for it. But Selma Blair is going to be competing in Dancing with the Stars. It's going to provide a lot of visibility for those dealing with MS or multiple sclerosis. Selma Blair, who is from around here, born in Southfield, went to school at Cranbrook and Hillel Day School. This is just great to see more local talent. Now, it's not an Emmy, but I'll take it, and people will be seeing her. And I just love seeing this kind of visibility, because knowing as many people as I do with MS, it is not like, that doesn't mean everything's over. It definitely provides challenges, but to give visibility to this is great.
Yeah, I have to say, I was kind of surprised seeing the announcement, given that she's had such a public kind of struggle and announcement with dealing with MS that's kind of advancing. She uses cane and to walk and stuff. So this could be, like you said, Jer, really maybe an inspirational opportunity for people with MS to show, wow, like of all the shows, all the shows you could be on, Dancing with the Stars seems like the most out of left field. Like you couldn't do this. So I'm rooting for Selma. I think she'll be a fan favorite, but it'll be very interesting to see her go through Dancing with the Stars, and I hope she goes far.
I'm here for
Mirror Ball Trophy. Let's do it.
Right, exactly. Before we let you go, a little bit of housekeeping. Sir, I can't reveal all the details, but I believe we have found a new studio.
I'm going to play coy here. I know a little bit. Now, Jerry, I'll say I'm a little bit of an outsider in the sense that I have not seen what you have seen.
No, and you don't know what I know.
Vague. I don't know what you know, and I haven't seen what you've seen, which is very vague.
And I'm sharing that to say that as we're getting reorganized here, we're going to be a 3-episode plus a bonus schedule for the next couple of weeks. People seem to be fine with that. So obviously we're doing this show every Friday just so that we have the right workload so that we can finish this thing and get it done quickly, because it's important. There's so many opportunities that we need to take advantage of with the studio, and it just had to happen. I want your guesses, though, at dailydetroit@gmail.com, and I'm going to give you a clue in a minute. But I also want to say I heard listeners who flooded me with tons of suggestions that we should buy the Yamasaki building on Meringue. I will admit that after I saw that flood, I looked into it. I did. And I even talked to friends and talked to people who love the show about, hey, how can we get a hold of this thing? But unfortunately, there is a reason it has been vacant for so many years.
I can imagine.
And upon looking at it a little bit closer, it would probably take 3 times as much money as the purchase price to get it up to snuff for what we do. And it's just not a project we can take on right now. It's just not. We're still kind of in the growth stage. We need something that's a little closer to turnkey. But I did hear you. I heard all the messages and people like, hey, this would be perfect. And hey, it's modern. And hey, it's right off a freeway. But you know what? That is a project of love for somebody, but it can't be for us. I just know that all we would be doing is fixing windows and trim and da-da-da and not doing what we do.
Well, Jer, I will say, from what I've heard from you, this will pay off. Having to pare down a little bit on the shows and the content is going to pay off in the end because of what you're doing. I want to push you a little bit for one more clue, because obviously being Daily Detroit, are we going to be in Detroit?
I can say that the plan is to be within the city borders in a place, when it was built, it was woods.
Interesting. You can keep dropping clues like that, and I feel like Dan Austin, if he's listening, will be the only person who will. But that may be enough for him. Dan may get it off of that alone.
Dan will be like triangulating it. I know exactly what happened. Oh, by the way, if you don't follow Dan Austin at historicdetroit.org, what are you doing with your life? If you love Detroit historic stuff, that guy. Oh my gosh, that guy.
Talk about friends of the podcast and free promotion. Dan deserves it.
We are done for today. I hope you had fun with us today, talking about everything that's happening.
If you'll excuse me, I'm going to be off to Tenacity Craft to start my birthday celebration early.
All right, with that, I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Devin O'Reilly.
Thank you to our supporters who chipped in at buymeacoffee.com/dailydetroit. And remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around town.